Welcome everybody to episode 2 of Improving at Dota 2. Today's episode, we're gonna tackle something incredibly important and key in this game. And that, my friends, is warding. Warding in this game can single-handedly win or lose a game for your team in all stages of play. Low-level play, high-level play, even professional play. Warding properly is an art of its own. So, what we're gonna start off with are going to be commonly known ward spots that don't have any significant properties, right? Everybody knows them, everybody uses them.
Let's go.
But, well, you know. No special tactics needed for these. So, first off, this spot right here, everybody knows it. This spot up here.
30 seconds.
Typical ward spots, you know. Doesn't matter which side. Just depends on where you want to have your priorities. Maybe if you're Radiant side, you prefer to have the ward here, to have maybe a little bit of vision up the ramp and of the jungle. Maybe if you play defensive, you would like to have vision of your own ramp here to, you know, see anyone coming from the top lane to gank. It's fine, you know, it's just general warding spots. Another general ward spot would be up here. But this one, I will talk about a little bit later, in my opinion, is utter garbage. This spot right here also covers the rune to some degree.
Yes.
And of course we have the same for the bottom side of the river. As I give myself more words. Namely this,
Not yet.
this spot on the ledge here, and this spot. Now, this spot is sometimes used to cover Rosh, and if you're for example on the Radiant side, to cover this ledge. The exact opposite can be said about these two spots. This is more to cover the ledge if you're Dire side, to have a good sight on, you know, when someone's making a move for the rune or to gank down bot. If you're a Pudge, you can easily hook someone who's walking past here not paying attention because you have a ward here on the ledge. Also, it covers these ramps a little bit. This ward, I personally am not a fan. Covers the Rosh pit a little bit, but other than that, only gives limited vision inside the forest here, and not really that much vision further than the stairway here. This is basically the counterpart to it. Again, depending on whether you play Dire or Radiant, offensive or defensive, this ward just covers the river rune a little bit and the Rosh pit. Now, why do I say I'm not a fan of this ward or this ward? Well, everybody knows these kind of standard-ish wards. If you go solo bot as a windrunner, what do? Ah, well, I'll go here, I'll place a ward here. Because it gives sight of the rune, but it keeps me safe, because it gives me vision here. So I can't get ganked, and then I plant a really stupid ward down here to block this camp. Because I don't want to have, you know, if I go solo bot, I don't want them to pull these two creep camps, or if you're, you know, Radiant solo top, I don't want them to pull these two camps.
By starlight.
So I plant these wards here. As a counterpart to that,
Stalking.
the Dire side, people go and plant the ward here.
Quickly now.
And then put a really fucking stupid ward here.
Yes.
Now, why is this a stupid ward? It blocks the camp, but you could do so much more. Same with this, you could do so much more with this. The reason why I dislike these wards is because this is the type of ward that shows to me that you're one of these people who's just planting a ward for the fuck of it, or if someone's crying for wards and then takes the wards off you, like say you're a support and they need wards for down bot, and then they place them in such a retarded manner, it really genuinely just shows how they're really half-assed players. You shouldn't, generally, rule number one, you shouldn't bitch and cry about something unless you have a solution to the problem yourself. And if your solution is something like this, I would highly recommend you look at some guides, or for example, this video, to learn how it's not done. These wards are garbage. The reason why is as follows. Besides the obvious wards that everybody knows, I'm gonna go and explain a little more advanced wards now. First off are blocking wards. There are some wards that can be combined in terms of vision and effectiveness.
Your middle tower is under attack.
You will see a couple of pictures at the top right of this video that basically will explain or show the proper spots on a grid view of the map. Because what every camp in this game has in common, which goes back to episode 1, is that they have a certain range, a certain grid around them, every single camp in the forest, that if a ward or a hero-controlled creature or a hero itself stands within this grid at any point in time, during a respawn timer, every full minute, this camp will be blocked. So why would you put a ward right in there that serves no purpose other than blocking, if you could put it here, next to this tree?
Come, Nova.
What does this give you? It gives you vision. It combines the use of 2 wards in one, because this also blocks this camp. But on top of all things, it keeps you safe from ganks in the river, and it gives you vision here. How many times have you been driven off by a Rubik who wants to go pull, figures out there's nothing to pull, and then he just sits here and wants to ambush you? Or people that want to try lanes, or even start First Blood, just for the purpose of First Blood. Come around with a third person and then TP and fuck off. Place this ward here, you block the pull, you're safe from ganks in mid, and you have vision. On top of all things, if you feel like they could pull maybe the second spawn, you could put a ward up here, next to this tree. This blocks both camps, gives full vision of this forest,
Absolutely.
and keeps you safe. If I was to be solo top Mirana, Windrunner, Clockwork, Bounty Hunter, anything for that matter, at this point I can literally walk on the lane, and other than with the standard harass I have to deal with,
Your top tower is
I'm
under
fine.
attack.
Trust me, a Darkseer who gets 2 wards on his for his suicide play toward these 2 camps is gonna have a field day up top.
Is under attack.
Now of course you can do the same down bot for the Radiant. However, for the Radiant,
On the hunt.
there is one particular place that I will mention
Yes.
after the others. The more efficient spot, more or less.
Yes.
Rather than placing a ward here, what I like to do is place
the
a ward
prowl.
either in here, because this
Night
also gives vision of the
sees all.
rune, but blocks this camp, and
Good plan.
place a ward here.
By starlight.
Placing a ward here will block this heavy camp and also give vision of the rune, as well as to some degree vision up this ramp
We ride.
and into the forest. So you have to spot someone like a Furion or an Enchantress or a Pudge will walk through here and you can spot them on the minimap. But you have to pay attention to it. It's not like they're gonna be in plain sight the whole time. If you have a ward here, they're in plain sight. You don't just see him coming, you see him sitting there the whole time. However,
Stalking.
rather than putting a ward in here, which a lot of people do, again, this is really bad. What I like to do, and a lot of other people like to do, is
Quickly
something that
now.
we call the magic bush. If I may introduce you, this is the magic bush. Now you might say, Saber, what the fuck are you talking about? What does the magic bush do? Well, look at the top right. This picture will show you how, in this particular spot, the grid of both this top camp and the bottom camp overlap. So placing a ward right here at the so-called magic bush will block both camps. Now, why would you do this? You won't believe how many games I have won when I was in the very high bracket before the lycanthrope nerf. Prior to, I think, the last 2 patches. Lycanthrope's wolves now have a lot less health, so he has to tank some damage, and he's not as fast with jungling anymore. Or just a little bit diminished, but he's still freaking fast. But, in general, people just thought, I gotta expend money for wards to block his camps, to keep him from farming, blah blah blah. Nuisance. It doesn't matter what hero you play against. If there's a jungle hero, or if you are just solo suiciding bot. This ward, because some people will go and put a ward here, and this is garbage, right? That's, well, I'll destroy it. But this ward, right, will give you the same vision. But on top of all that, it will block these 2 camps. And in combination, right, with this ward, it will give you sight. Oh, see, I fucked that up. That needs to go closer to the edge. In combination with this ward, it will give you sight of the rune, and it will block these 2 camps.
On the hunt.
So you have sight of the rune, you block this camp, and this camp. They can't pull. They can't pull the second spawn. Whoever's in the woods can't farm, and whoever's in the woods is limited to these 2 camps. Which adds up another option that is very key, and that, as I said, can not only ruin someone's farm in the forest, but also really destroy them, is that if they only have these 2 camps to work with, you can easily, because this right here gives you the high ground advantage, gives you an easy way to gank them. You won't see, trust me, a Furion that only has these 2 spots to work with, a lifesteal that only has these 2 spots to work with. At 30 seconds, he will maybe do the easy spot. If he doesn't do the easy spot straight up, what he has to deal with is an easy spot that only respawns once every full minute, and then he has to immediately go to a hard camp. A lifestealer does not have a fun time with level 1 and half a bar, right? Trying to do 2 Ursas down there. He'll get destroyed. You have to expend all of his tangos from the very get-go, if not a health pot if he has one. And even with a buckler, he then has to go back at minute 1 to kill this camp, and then it's like 1 minute and 10 seconds, and what does he have? This camp again, and the easy camp only just respawned and he killed it. So until minute 2, he can't do anything, really. Except for, of course, fucking off into your woods. So, this, every 2 minutes, easy pickoffs. Whoever is mid can usually come by. Oh, I pick an Invis rune bot. Now I walk up this ramp. Is someone here? Yes! Hook him. Because, again, they can't see you. It's high ground. Easy hook. Bam. Free kill. And then I go bottom gank. Doesn't matter. A Furion on level 2 or level 3 does not have the ability to expand one of his 2 trends to send up the ramp so he doesn't get ganked. He will buy wards at some point, but then you forced him into buying wards, even though he already has no farm and no proper experience per minute, just to do these 2 camps. In most cases, he will then fuck off into your woods, at which point you check maybe once every 2 minutes if someone's there. If no one's here, you tell them there's someone in our forest, and then the people around mid and top are gonna have a field day with this guy. This alone won me easily 100 games against Lycanthrope. Just because I know where and how to ward.
Good plan.
So, really, why would you ever ward here? It's garbage. Why would you ever ward here if you can ward here? It's dumb.
We ride.
Warding is an art. Knowing where and how to ward at which point wins you a game. Which is another point that
Absolutely.
I have to address. There is no point
What do you
in
say?
ever, for example, warding the rune spot here.
The night sees
If
all.
you lost all your tier 2 towers mid and like tier 1 and tier 2 towers mid and bot, and you're far behind and you have to sit back. If anything, you want to ward the Rosh pit maybe, but if you can't intervene anyway and have to let them do it, then really, what's the point of this? You're never gonna push out, you're never gonna be aggressive. No one's gonna farm in the forest, and if they farm in the forest, they prefer to have a ward up this ledge rather than here. You gotta know where to ward and when to ward. If you're playing passive, right, which is another thing, this is also a spot that people use a lot.
Stalking.
This. I don't ward this if the map is looking like it is right now.
Your middle tower is under attack.
I'm safe here. I'm safe to farm. Why would I place a ward here? Same if you're dire. If you're dire, like, yeah, well, I want to kill Furion, I place a ward here. Why? Why? You place a ward here at the magic bush, you place a ward up here, you force him to do these two camps. And to be honest, if anything, you want to gank him when he does this camp. Why would you want to try and gank a Furion here when he's doing this camp? He can easily fuck off to the tier 2 tower in the creep wave, and if there's something like an invoker here, it only takes him 2 steps to come down, and then you're sandwiched. You're gonna get yourself ganked for that matter. This is a garbage ward early on in the game, if all towers are up. It's not a useful ward. You have to know when to ward where, and why you ward where you warded. That's how you make use of these items properly, and that's what makes the big difference between a scrub player that's just bitching for wards and someone who actually knows what the hell they're doing. There is no point in warding random spots if you're not going to do something with it. Like, even in the later stage of the game, I wouldn't ward this if I'm not willing to actually gank and do something about whoever's farming here. So, we're going to kill these wards off. Of course, the counterpart to this would be
Your top tower is under
on the
attack.
dire side, this cliff up here. Again, same story, same shit, different name.
Your top tower
When
is
would you
under
ward
attack.
here? In the later stages of the game, if the 2 tier 1s are gone, maybe in the tier 2. Because you can see people trying to ambush you from behind if you were to push in mid tier 2. You can see them coming around.
On the
Rather than fighting you in you know, clear vision, they go around and then wait up here. And yeah, well, you can get a little bit of vision on this camp. You won't even get vision of this camp here. You can see maybe a trend, which is a little small colored dot if you're paying attention to the minimap, and you might see some attack sprites, but really in general, you will not even see the easy camp if you ward here, so this is not even a good ward to gank somebody up here. If you really want to have a good ward, you place it here.
Your middle tower is under attack.
Why do I place it here and not near the rocks?
Pia.
This also gives vision down this ramp, which is more useful. The trees block vision here, so it doesn't matter whether you put the ward here or here. Except that most people are bad and put it here, so also most people want to counter ward this, place a random sentry ward here, and then sometimes you luck out and they don't even see this ward down here, because it's not in range. On top of the fact that this is a key location in later stages of the game, because of the fact that this is covered by 3 ramps, and it's very simple at any point in time, whether this tower is up or not,
Good plan.
that you just walk up here and they're all waiting and you're already dead. Or if you're pushing the tier 2 tower here, and then you want to retreat and you walk up here, you didn't pay attention when there was a ward here, don't have a ward up here though, and you're already dead, because they're jumping out from here, and maybe a Pudge is sitting on the ramp here already, ready to dismember you in an instant, right? Having a ward here, in my opinion, beats having a ward here every single time.
By
When would you
starlight.
place a ward here then? Well, if they know you have a ward here, near the staircase, and if they do a good job of dewarding. Because when you see people dewarding, you should do a good job of alterating your ward spots. If you alterate your ward spots, he either has to see you where you ward, or he has to pay attention to when and where certain skills connect. Like if a nature prophet ult connects back here, you know there's a ward up here. And you kind of get a feel for where they come to gank and where they completely don't have a clue where you are and leave you alone. So if I do this camp and I never get ganked, but I do this and I get hit by nature's prophet ult and get hooked by a Pudge from down here where I'm standing right now, like this, then I know, yeah, probably not gonna do his camp anymore because there's a ward here, right?
Salamene commands.
So now that we cleared this up,
Salamene commands.
I'm gonna show you some more wards that are
Stalking.
situational. The first one is this.
Quickly now.
Again, later stages in the game. This ward is really for the pretty late stages. If you're getting pushed in your base and you, for example, have a Pudge or a Mirana there or a Clockwork, you do not want to get hooked, or you do not want to get initiated on by an Enigma from up here.
Come, Nova.
But rather than put a ward up here, which some people do, if you look at the sight range right now
Yes.
of this ward covers this perfectly. And some people just put a ward up here. Again, for the fuck of it, right? Shits and giggles. Problem is, this is useless. This ward also gives me vision of the Ancients,
Let's go.
and it gives me vision of this secret shop passageway, which means I can see people coming earlier, react sooner, and obviously anyone who's stationary and sitting here really won't have a chance of initiating on me. It's a very key point, warding these three ways that are coming together here at this particular path on the stairway.
Salamene commands.
Another ward like
Your middle
this
tower is under attack.
would be here. Also,
Your top tower is under attack.
if you lost your top tower, it's easy for someone to come gank through here. It's also easy for someone to go back this way. This ward is very good for that
Your middle
purpose.
tower
Why?
is under
Because
attack.
it gives vision of the rune also. So this is not just a pure vision ward, this still gives rune sight as well. So if you have a Windrunner solo top, or a Darkseer, and this tower goes down early, and you're just gonna hang back at the tower, and you want to be safe from this, you can easily put a ward up here. You still see the rune, so rather than putting it up here, you see the rune here, but you are safe in this hallway. Whoops. You're safe in this hallway, right? It's a great ward. It's a really great ward. Barely anyone uses it though, because they don't have, the knowledge of how to make proper use of the site, range of a ward, and how to exploit it to their advantage.
By star.
What I want to say about this though is that it's very important that you place them on the right spot. You always put them up top next to the edge of the rock. You place them anywhere else near down the ramp or further down there,
Quickly
and what
now.
happens is, like if you put them at the bottom rock, what happens is this tree will block the direct vision line down the staircase if you put it here, and then you don't see the rune. And if you place it anywhere closer down here, you already lose the vision up here, up the ramp. So it's key you put it here. And you won't see anyone dewarding this, really.
Let's go.
Another ward, sometimes people use, if they feel like, oh yeah, I don't want to put my ward
Blessings
here,
upon a loyal warrior.
then what you can do is you can
Yes.
put it in here too. That's the same, gives vision of the rune,
middle
but gives a
tower
little more
has
vision
fallen.
here, what we said earlier. If you feel like you don't see enough, well, of the top lane at least, because top lane of the forest that is, then well, put it here. It also blocks this spawn, also gives sight of the rune, but it also covers the space here,
On the hunt.
as you can see. So you have full vision of this area the whole time if you ward it with
Your
the magic
bottom tower has
bush.
fallen.
See? Still absolutely fine,
Your
right?
middle
Just a
tower is
different
under attack.
alteration. Though this is harder to deward. Again, you pay a little bit of a price for making it harder to deward by
Your
having a
middle
little bit
tower is
of
under
vision
attack.
given up. But it's still just as effective.
Come, Nova.
And it's a little bit of an alteration, because that's another
Your
thing.
middle tower
We
is
Although
under
this is
attack.
hard to deward, some people, if they expect you to have a ward here, put a counter ward down here,
Stalking.
and they can't actually see it. Although sometimes they could see the ward in here,
The night sees all.
you would still need something to get vision of this. You either need someone to get rid of the trees, or you need to have a feeling that,
Good
hey,
plan.
he does know about the rune, he does know when I'm coming by, but there's no ward here as normal, so Either I
What do you
pop a
see?
Frost Nova if I'm a maiden and just get vision here real quick and deward this,
For
or
the night.
I gotta put a second ward here because this is no longer in range for that, and deward here.
Stalking.
So it's good to alterate spots, so that this sentry ward can't deward this ward. But this is hard to deward by default, so you know it always depends on the
Let's go.
situation. And now I will mention probably the biggest bullshit ward ever, right? This is about the only ward in the game. It's like one thing if someone doesn't know about the magic bush and wastes a ward, even if it's dumb, like these two, rather than putting them here at the bush. And it's a whole nother thing if someone doesn't understand the basics of ramps and uphill vision and how it screws over people and
Absolutely.
a whole team fight for that matter. I hate people that do this. You wouldn't believe how many games I've lost because people were doing Roshan, wanted a ward up here,
Middle tower has fallen.
saw them coming and then charged up. Dumpty 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 da, and then they pop, for example, I'm a good example of this, they pop Eclipse. Grats, and as I pop Eclipse, they run up this ramp. Oh my god, there's fog. Oh, guess what? There's a little little set of trees here. Oh my god, yeah, more fog. Oh look, there's an alcove here that you can like piss off to. Oh yeah, nice. Yeah, okay, I'm getting kited around like an absolute fucking dickhead. Right?
Salamene commands.
This ward is garbage. It doesn't give you vision of anyone waiting here if you do Roshan, hooking in, a Storm Spirit blinking in to steal the token, an Enigma who could blink in and black hole and win a game with this move, right? You don't see a Mirana throwing an arrow. You don't see jack fucking shit. Okay, is the point. This ward is utter arse of the highest order. It's about the only thing that actually gets me mad
Starlight.
is this ward. Rather than planting this piece of shit ward, what you do is you either plant a ward here,
What do you see?
because this gives vision of the secret shop, but guess what?
Come, Nova.
You won't cancel any skills. You won't see a Sven who can cancel his
enemy's
Storm
top
Bolt
tower
because someone
has
went up the
fallen.
ramp. Even if I pop Eclipse, if they're up on the high ground, they will still get hit. And if there's a Pudge waiting for me on the high ground,
Yeah.
I'm gonna walk up here and I'll pop my Eclipse. Ooh, and I'm gonna walk up here. Oh my god, dismember, I'm dead. Rather than doing this, I see what's happening.
On the
I have
prowl.
clear vision of this. It's just as good because I don't give a fuck if someone's down here, really. If you don't see them coming down with all this vision, trust me, you fucked up. Not seeing this little bit is the least of your worries. So, it covers the secret shop from anyone jumping in here. It covers the stairway from any uphill battle going their way. And it's just as good for rushing. Never put a ward here. You put a ward here when I'm in a game with you, I'm actually gonna be furious.
For the night.
Because those are normally the first people who cry like, oh, what the fuck, Rosh without wards, lol, noobs, kids, whatever, blah blah blah, place wards, fuck noob support, blah blah blah, and then they put a ward here. No fucking chance, bro. You place a ward here, I'm done with you. No go.
Quickly now.
So, of course, you can also put a ward later on,
Good plan.
which is kind of an equivalent
Your
to this
middle
ward here.
tower is under
You can place the
attack.
ward down here on this stairway. Actually, I should do this first.
For the
Your
night.
middle tower is under
This
attack.
ward here also covers the secret shop. So you can still see someone coming in for Rosh. You can't see someone TPing in though. This ward gives you a little vision of this hallway here, so you could see someone reinforcing from the side. If this tower no longer stands and is not an issue, it's fine to ward down here. You get vision of the tier 2 tower in mid, and you still get vision of the secret shop. So this does the job as well, but it's a different spot, first of all, and it's for different purpose in the game, depending on how the lanes are pushed. So,
We ride.
that's that. And now,
Night sees all.
what we're gonna do are the more or less
Yeah.
known as very dickish wards. Very situational and more or less not a whole lot of people know about them kind of wards. These ward locations are really specifically if you want to commit towards like really destroying someone in the forest, like their jungling capabilities, or if you really want to shut someone down that you think fell back on into the forest as an emergency kind of, you know, move. A Bat Rider that lost mid badly to a Templar Assassin, for example, desperately needs his dagger or force staff, might just fall back into the forest for 5 minutes. If you're really, really desperately trying to keep him low, though, which is not necessarily something you should do with a Bat Rider, it shouldn't be that big of a concern. Judging by how much of an advantage you've gained for your team by winning your lane and maybe ganking another. That there are a couple of ward spots that, again, give up vision, or some of them have completely no vision at all, but they are incredibly hard to deward, if not dewardable. You will rarely see someone that's been so gimped with these kind of blocking wards to commit to a sentry ward and then still find out where your wards have been placed, if not even be capable of dewarding them.
Yes.
The first one is this, right here. If I could.
Let's go.
This ward right here blocks the easy camp. If you really want to commit to ruining someone's forest, you can ward the magic bush, you can ward this camp up here to give vision of the rune, and then put one more ward here. This will give very limited vision, but except for one camp, it will absolutely destroy the forest. I personally don't like this ward, as I said, because I enjoy having the high ground advantage here and taking some free ganks out on people. Because, you know, every 2 minutes with only 2 camps, this is a predictable place to be ganked.
Your top tower is under attack.
And at least force them to do something that they're very uncomfortable with, which is forcing them into moving into your forest. So, even though this is an incredibly hard to deward ward, no one will deward this, right? Because if they place a ward here,
yes,
they can't see it. It's on the high ground. And if they're on the high ground, well, then they still have to find a way to get there. And I like Control won't get there, unless he spends a good 15 seconds cutting these trees down, killing the ward, and then having to wait until the next full minute to actually do this camp.
on the hunt.
A really, really harsh and difficult to deward spot. At the cost of vision range, though. This ward is one of these wards that has absolutely no vision. As you can see, this has absolutely no vision whatsoever. But this is, again, no way someone will deward this. Most people don't even know about this ward spot. But again, as you'll see in the top right with the grid view, it blocks this camp. Gives no vision at the expense of being hard to deward. Does a bloody good job though.
By starlight.
We discussed these wards here.
Let's go.
Then, of course, what I mentioned at the very beginning, I'm not a fan of this ward. Why? Now this ward gives vision here of the rune, right?
Let's go.
And it gives vision of the ancients. Maybe if you're on Radiant side, but why would you not place it here? Why would you not place it here? Why would you not place it here? If someone goes deward here, which is standard, then he can't reach this. If someone were to deward this because they figured it out, or they're good about warding, then you can choose to ward here or here. This is like the last instance you would want to ward. But people just generally ward here, even though it's a garbage spot. And if you're on Dire side, why would you ever want to ward here if you can ward right here? Again, you might look at this and go,
Your middle tower is under attack.
Top right. This, between the pike and the torch, blocks ancients. If I'm on Dire side, why would I ever ward here rather than here when I can still have vision of the rune here and block ancients at the same time? It's not like if someone suspects a ward here, like when they're doing ancients and they get ganked, that it makes a difference whether it's here or here, it's gonna get dewarded. But this serves two purposes at once. This ward is garbage. This is a good ward.
On the prowl.
Now, you might consider this a little bit unfair, but as compared to the Radiant Ward here, which gives vision of the rune, the dire side Ancient Block Ward has,
Unworthy.
yeah, well, let's just say a little bit of vision under certain circumstances. Not really a whole lot of vision. It's in this little alcove here.
Yes.
Now, this gives vision when someone does March of the Machines. You'll see it. You'll get the sound cue as well as vision of someone throwing axes like a Beastmaster. And you might to some degree hear monsters when they get pulled. Like if I pull these monsters here or these creeps, right? You might be able to hear them getting hit from my glaives here, for example. You will also get like sound cues if you have this warded for an AM that's blinking. It doesn't actually give vision, but it gives vision of certain skills and it gives the sound cues. March of the Machines being the most obvious one. If you see any March of the Machines creeps walking through here, you know what's going on. So you would say, okay, this Tinker is pulling Ancients. Okay, I immediately blocked his Ancients, so he can't stack anymore. He might still want to finish these triple stacked Ancients though. So next time I see March of the Machines here, I walk up and gank him. Then finish off the camp, and then fuck off back to my own lane. You just dealt him a huge blow, you will not believe. Right? So, doesn't give a whole lot of vision, but does the job just fine. Trust me. Very hard to deward. Incredibly hard. You won't see anyone deward this. Even in professional games, if someone sees that the Ancients are warded, rather than looking around any of these holes in the forest, maybe even here, what they do is they give it up. They just, okay, whatever, for 6 minutes it's out, right?
Yes.
Now, of course, we have some crazy block spawns for the dire side as well. One of the really rarely ever used ones is this.
The enemy's middle tower has fallen.
If you manage to push out middle lane easily, sometimes people put a gyro in mid. Not necessarily the best of gankers, but if he's farming while a Pudge or whatever is going around ganking, he can easily push this in early on. And then you'll get vision of the middle lane, partially. You'll see people walking up that ramp, and it will block this camp. And again, this is hard to deward. Someone placing a sentry down here means they still need vision up here. Someone places a sentry here, they can't see it due to the trees. So they need a way to either bypass the trees, again like with the Maiden Frost Nova to get vision, or just simply cut this down. So this, again, for most purposes, in most situations, just simply due to cost efficiencies, no one will counterward this. But in certain situations, when the tier 1 tower is gone really early on and you still have someone in the forest, this could be a good ward. Another ward that's being used, which is kind of the equivalent of the magic bush if you combine it with these top wards, is this. This blocks the easy camp and gives limited vision of the forest. So you can see a Furion, there is no creeps here, walking down here. Again, you force him into going into the low ground, which gives you the advantage of either ganking him from here in mid or here up top, because he sits on the low ground and can do nothing about it. You have to pay attention to the minimap though, because you'll only see him shortly. Unlike the magic bush, which lets you see someone walk past and be in clear field of vision the whole time, this does not give you clear vision the whole time. This just gives you vision temporarily. And if you pay attention to the minimap that someone's walking there, then you can come and gank. But you have to be able to pay attention to the minimap to make good use of this one. And what I said about combining this is doing this, right?
Let's go.
Warding here, to block this spawn, have vision of this, to block this spawn and have vision around here, as well as blocking the easy spawn and having vision up here, means that anyone who's jungling here basically has no other option in these two camps. So with these 3 wards, you forced someone into the same situation as if you were to ward the magic bush and the river here, and then ward the easy camp here. They are basically let to have one camp, and that's this one. As compared to the Radiant side, though, this is a hard camp, this is a mid camp. This camp can sometimes spawn a Minotaur, but in general it will spawn wolves, which deal high DPS, it will spawn mud golems, and it will spawn satyrs. So yeah, it might be easier to do, but it gives a lot less XP and gold, and it's easily exploitable because of the two high grounds leading next to it, and a Pudge could just, oh yeah, I have vision here, just hook in and kill him for free. It takes him 2 seconds to walk to the left, up the river and get a free kill. So, or again, force him to go into your forest. So this is these 3 ward combinations, depending on whether you're Radiant or Dire, can destroy forest heroes. And again, they're still really effective with their sight range. These are not just random stupid shit words in here.
Your middle tower is under attack.
Now, there's one more ward here.
Your middle tower is under attack.
I personally don't like this ward, but some people have used it in the pro scene a couple of times when they bought 2 wards to basically like ward the easy camp, ward the 2 hard camps, and then put a ward here so he only has the heavy camp. This is a ward that blocks this camp and gives a little bit of vision, but I'm not a big fan of this and I wouldn't recommend it personally. This is like so this is if you have a bad day and you just want to win a game and you know that they have, I don't know, a Darkseer that's solo suiciding bot and a lycanthrope, then you can do this. Ruin lycanthrope's like day and make sure that bottom destroys Darkseer, and then you basically have a 3v5 on your hands for the first 25 minutes. But this is really committing to shutting someone down at the expense of 300 gold for 6 minutes. And doing this would completely give up Vision of the Runes because you basically pop 4 wards for the forest.
Yes.
But yeah, it's also very hard to deward, and you won't see anyone deward this.
We ride.
So all that's left now are counter warding spots. Again, unless you specifically want a specific spot to be counter warded, like you say, in general people don't counter ward this. But if you've lost your tier 1 and tier 2 in mid, you know they have a ward up here, and you know they have a ward here, or here for that matter. It's good to just put down a sentry here. But this is, in general, very specific. If you really want to pull a fight at Roche, if you think this is really important to you. It's not a general counter-warding spot, though. General counter-warding spots are, first of all, the river here.
Stalking.
Because this covers this spot, and this spot. And it can be used to spot a bounty hunter that's coming for a gank that walks past in Windwalk. It spots a Nyx assassin coming by in Windwalk. It spots an Ursa warrior smoking into Roche. So this counteracts both warding and invisibility ganks, or smokes for that matter, of any kind. That's why this is a highly effective counter-warding spot, and a common counter-warding spot. Another common counter-warding spot, due to the fact that some people, as I said, ward here, is this. Allows you to spot anyone coming for ganks. If a Nyx is coming from mid, or if a Pudge is coming with Invis, you can see them coming here, right? And make sure your carry gets to farm safely, because you can see them coming here. Then maybe Pudge walks down here and wants to hook. Doesn't matter, you see him coming. You see him coming in smoke. And you get the counter ward. That's why that is an efficient spot. Yes. It could even counter ward this if it's close enough. But then you still need to have vision, and you need to know that this camp is blocked. Hence why I said sometimes you want to alterate and put a ward here, because then this ward can't catch this one. It can catch this one, but not this one on the outer side. Another very good spot to counter ward
Quickly now.
is this one up top.
Who dares?
This one up top here,
Let's go.
basically, takes care
The night sees
of a ward
all.
here that blocks the spawn. Takes care of a ward here that blocks the spawn. And, as well as it counters good players, it also counters bad players that just place a ward here for vision. That's why this is also a very good ward. The only place you could meta game this ward is if you're absolutely fucking bad and place a ward in here. Because then it won't
On
reach.
the prowl.
But again, if you're in a good enough bracket that people come to the lane with counter wards, then you could do this and meta them. But even then, you should be aware of the fact that sometimes they'll already be standing here waiting for you to ward so they can see where you put the ward in the first place.
Stalking.
So you shouldn't really bank on that. This is like... So it takes care of these 3 wards up
We
here.
ride.
And of course, you have the ward here.
Let's go.
Ward here takes care of this ward up on the ledge. Takes care of this ward up on the ledge. And sometimes,
Let's go.
very rarely, people will put a ward here. No,
Good plan.
there you go. This ward doesn't cover the rune. But sometimes, for whatever reason, people want to have vision here rather than put a ward here of the same vision and block the camp. I've seen people do this. I don't know why this is a common ward. I really can't tell you. I've never used it. I don't like it. It's garbage for several reasons. As we said, why take this if you can have the same vision and block a camp?
Yes.
But apparently it exists. So, a counter ward down here deals with these 3 ledges.
By
And again,
starlight.
takes care of anyone who wants to gank in invis. For example, right here. Who wants to gank in invis up top.
Come, Nova.
If the tier 1 tower is down already, around the secret shop. Can spot a Gondar coming for mid if he wants to gank. Can spot a Nyx coming for mid. And
Absolutely.
if you're dire, hey, it could even spot a Nyx going into the forest. So you could already tell, ah, this is warded. Right? Because he
Illuminate.
came in invis up here. Tier 1 tower's gone, no one's farming here. Our carry's back here at the tier 2 or somewhere farming in here. And Nyx popped invis here and ran into the woods. You can see him coming. You can see a smoke coming.
What do you see?
This is a good spot to ward. Again, covers multiple ward
Quickly
places
now.
and takes good care of invisibility ganks.
On
Pardon
the
me.
hunt.
Yeah, so those are common places to de-ward.
Let's go.
Now,
Your middle
if
tower is under
for Radiant
attack.
side, as I said, because this ward is so effective, if you want to counter ward
go.
this ward for your carry to do Ancients again,
Your
don't put
middle
your ward
tower
here.
is under attack.
It's trash. If
What do you
if
see?
there's anything in Invis like a Nyx that's coming up here, your carry doesn't need to see him standing right in front of his face, right?
Your middle
Because this is
tower
as far as the
is
ward
under
will go.
attack.
It's
On the
enough
prowl.
if you can see him coming down there. This will be more than enough reaction time. But what this has as an advantage is it also spots the ramp here.
The night
So as I said,
sees
sometimes
all.
when people ward here or here, you can de-ward this as well. And the fact that it has vision on the low ground means it also still covers the river somewhat. So this is just more effective than this, even though it's just a couple of yards apart from each other. So don't put your sentry ward here if you want to de-ward Ancients. Don't do it, it's bad. Put it here. Be a good player.
Slice.
So that's pretty much it, guys. Warding, as I said, even though I showed you all the spots now, all the efficient spots, it still comes down to you knowing when and where to ward, and why you put a ward there. Are you going to commit to a gank? Are you actually going to pay attention to the minimap at certain spots, like we said here at the easy camps, or down here? And are you actually in need of these wards? If you have all your towers, why put a ward here? It's not like you're gonna gank a Furion down here, and it's not like he's not safe. Someone from mid can come gank easily and help him out. Rather put a ward somewhere more defensive. or more useful to your lane. Like at the bush. Covers the forest, but still keeps you safe on the lane as well. And it makes it somewhat predictable where your opponent's going to be in the forest. Why would you ever ward here early on? Depends on the situation. So, don't just buy wards. Make sure you know when to buy wards and why you bought them. What's your problem right now in the game? What do you need? Where should I place the wards? Judging from that. If you take that to heart, trust me, wards alone, especially with forest heroes and especially with certain heroes that give people a lot of trouble, like a free farming lifestealer lately, now that he's becoming really popular, even though I hate his guts. Free farming lycanthrope. You can turn free farm into utter fucking destruction and havoc with some well-placed wards. So, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Gonna come up with another one sometime around next week. Until then, guys, take care. I'm out.